it's me again. I'm going to read some more out of Valley of the Dolls, which I haven't read from and recorded since March 27th, 2020. It's been a while, dolls. So, where I left off, Ann Wells was getting ready to go through the glass doors to the offices of Henry Bellamy. Let's find out what happens. Henry Bellamy couldn't believe his eyes. She couldn't be for real. In her way, maybe she's one of the most beautiful girls he had ever seen, and he was accustomed to beautiful girls. And instead of wearing the outrageous pompadour and platform shoes that had come into style, this one just let her hair hang loose, natural, and it was that light blonde color that looked real. But it was her eyes that really ran him. They were really blue, sky blue, but glacial. Why do you want this job, Miss Wells? For some reason, he felt nervous. Damn it, he was curious. She was dressed in plain dark linen, and there wasn't a sign of jewelry except the small, neat wristwatch. But there was something about her that made one certain she didn't need a job. I want to live in New York, Mr. Bellamy. Just that. Straight answer. Why did it make him feel like he was snooping? He was entitled to ask questions. And if he made it too easy, she might not take the job. That was crazy, too. She was sitting here, wasn't she? She hadn't just dropped by for tea. Then why did he feel as if he were the applicant, striving to make a favorable impression on her? He glanced at the form the agency had sent along. 20 years old and a BA in English, eh? Radcliffe, but no office experience. Now tell me, what good is this fancy background going to do around here? Can it help me handle a bitch like Helen Lawson, or get a drunken bum like Bob Wolf to turn in her weekly radio script on time? Or convince some fag singer to leave the Johnson Harris office and let me handle his affairs? Am I supposed to do all that? She asked. No, I am. But you have to help. But I thought you were an attorney. He saw her collect her gloves. He turned on one of his relaxed smiles. I'm a theatrical attorney. There's a difference. I draw up contracts for my clients. Contracts that have no loopholes except in their favor. I also handle their taxes, help them invest their money, get them out of any and all trouble, arbitrate their marital problems, keep their wives and mistresses apart, act as godfather to their children, and wet nurse to them, especially when they're doing a new show. But I thought actors and writers had managers and agents. They do. He noticed the gloves were back in her lap. But the jumbos, the kind I handle, they also need me to advise them. For instance, an agent naturally pushes them toward the job that pays the most. He's interested in his 10%, but I figure which job will do them the most good. In short, a theatrical agent has to be a combination of agent, mother, and God. And you, if you get the job, have to be their patron saint. Anne smiled. Why don't theatrical attorneys replace all agents? They probably would if there were enough dedicated schmucks like me. He caught himself quickly. Excuse the language. When I get going, I don't realize what pops out. What language? Schmuck? She repeated it curiously. It sounded so outrageous coming from her that he laughed out loud. It's a Jewish word, and the literal translation would make you blush. But it's become slang for dope. Oh, don't let the fancy tag of Bellamy fool you, or even my freak Episcopalian face. I was born Birnbaum. When I was a kid, I worked summers as an entertainment director on cruises, wrote the ship's column. And they didn't like their fancy columns headed Boating by Birnbaum, so one guy suggested Bellamy. I met a lot of important people on those cruises. A singer who was working the tour became my first client. A lot of people got to know me as Bellamy, and I stuck with it. But I never let anyone forget that under Bellamy there's always Birnbaum. Now you have the whole picture. Think you can handle it? He smiled. This time her smile was real. I'd like to try. I type fairly well, but I don't know much about shorthand. He waved his hand. I got 2 broads out there who could win shorthand contests. I want someone who is more than a secretary. Her smile vanished. I don't think I understand. Damn it. He hadn't meant anything like that. He ground his cigarette in the tray and lit another one. Jesus, she sat straight. Unconsciously, he straightened in his chair. Look, Miss Wells. Being more than a secretary means not sticking to the usual 9-to-5 routine. There may be days when you won't have to come in until noon. If I've made you work at night, I wouldn't expect you to come in. But on the other hand, if there was some crisis, and even if you had worked until 4 in the morning, I'd expect you in before the office opened because you would want to be there. In other words, you make your own schedule. But you'd also have to be available some evenings. He paused a second, but she did not react, so he hurried on. Say I was having dinner at 21 with a prospective client. If I go for the right dinner and make with the right words, it's a pretty good bet he'll sign with me. But I may have to have 6 or 7 drinks with him and listen to his gripes about his present management. Naturally, I'll swear on my life not to do any of these things. I'll promise him everything, the moon with his name on it. Now, I can't give him all these things, I promise. No one could. But I will want to make an honest effort to avoid the mistakes of his present management and keep what promises I can. Only the next morning I won't remember a goddamn word. That's where you come in. You won't have a hangover because during this thrilling evening you will have sipped 1 cherry and you will remember everything I have said. The following day you will present me with a list of all the promises and I can study them when my head is clear. She smiled. I'd be sort of a human dictaphone. Exactly. Think you can handle it? Well, I have an excellent memory and I hate cherry. This time they laughed together. Okay, Anne. Want to start tomorrow? She nodded. Well, I also work for Mr. Bellows. He gazed into space and said quietly, There's no Mr. Bellows. Oh, there's George, his nephew, but George is not the Bellows in Bellamy and Bellows. That was George's uncle, Jim Bellows. I bought Jim out before he went to war. I tried to talk him out of it, but no, he went to Washington and got carried away with the Navy uniform and a commission. War is for the young. Jim Bellows was 53. Too old for war, but too young to die. Was he killed in Europe or in the Pacific? Died of a heart attack at a submarine, the damn fool. But the gruffness in his voice only punctuated the affection he felt for the dead man. Then, with an abrupt change of mood, he flashed one of his warm smiles. Okay, Anne. I guess we've exchanged enough of our life stories. I can start you out at $75 a week. How does that set with you? It was more than she expected. Her room cost $18, food about $15. She told him she could manage quite well. And that was the end of September 1945. Anne Wells has gotten a job almost instantly in New York. She didn't have to pound the pavement and go to a whole bunch of different employment agencies. Trying to figure out how she found a place to live so quickly. Sheer luck, I suppose, after the war. But the loose hair during the 40s, end of the war, yeah. I don't think anybody was doing that yet, except maybe Jennifer Jones. Someone can check this out if you want to. Anyways, it's getting late here, dolls. Thanks for watching, and eventually I'll get the whole book read. Nighty night. Bye.